Welcome back to another recording of the Elevate Media Podcast. I am Chris Anderson, your host. Today, we're getting into a little bit about awakening your leadership, growing as a person and as an individual as we're trying to be more conscious of how we interact with others and grow our businesses. And we brought on an expert to do that today. We're going to go through kind of his journey, a little bit about his expertise, and you guys are in for a treat. Charley Johnson, welcome to the Elevate Media Podcast today.
Beautiful. Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely. Looking forward to chatting today. We're going to dive right in. So you've played or you've held different roles throughout your career, from president of the Pay It Forward Foundation to TEDx stages. But now you're known as the Chief Consciousness Officer. So how did that kind of transform? How did that even take place to get you to where you are now?
Well, I appreciate the framework before we jumped on camera to kind of give me an idea of how to best unfold this. So leading with that, let's go with the journey. Grew up in Utah, born and raised, very Mormon state, very religious state. I wasn't. Okay. But I also wasn't Catholic. I wasn't atheist. I had no structure in what religion was or even what spirituality was. Mm-hmm. Now, I say that for the reason of getting to where we want to go. I was just a blank slate, and I didn't know it. I didn't do well around kids my age. I was offered a job at 16, and I immediately jumped at it because it got me out of school. It gave me a reason not to go to school dances. It gave me a reason not to go to the football game on Friday night. I just didn't enjoy it. The unique thing is I always had the older kids taking care of me, but we never hung out outside of school. Okay. It was a very unique thing. As soon as I got in that business, I was okay being ignorant. I was okay being the dumbest one in the room. And I just absorbed everything I could with every executive. I just sat around them like osmosis. I loved it. For some, I had a knack for business. I had blue collar parents. I had no college education. I had no business background whatsoever, but I just took to it. Yeah. Very young on, the CEO who saw something in me I never saw passed away. She passed away on a Saturday. Myself and a partner of mine took over on a Monday. We were 22 and 24. We were mid-level managers at best, but we were already ego-driven enough to think we were running the company because they allowed it, that we were ready for it. Yeah. Well, we were blissfully ignorant to understanding what was next, but we just took off. We did incredibly well. I flew 2 million miles, and then all of a sudden I developed a fear of flying. Huh. This was the universe's way. Again, I say universe as if I know. I had no clue what this meant. I was terrified. Yeah. The universe wanted me out of that company. Incredible culture, 260 employees, $30 million, safety, security, everything I've ever wanted because I never had it as a kid. It forced me out. Huh. A month after leaving the business in 2011, I was on a plane to Europe. It had nothing to do with that developing a fear of flying. Nothing. It was just pushing me out. Yeah. During that time, I went from corporate America to, I think I need to save the world. So I'm going to jump on the board with Pay It Forward. Yeah. Still ego driven. Like I'm going to save the world through random acts of kindness, which was incredible. I still love that foundation. I love the simple acts of kindness, doing it for someone and then they do it for someone else. Yep. Tens of millions of people, 130 countries. Beautiful. And then like everything else in my life, it just stopped. During that time, I spent, I'm assuming like you and every one of your listeners, we like self-development. We like Tony Robbins. I was crossing paths with a lot of coaches and every single one of them said they couldn't help me. Because I was asking unique questions, deeper questions. And I felt so out of place because they were helping my friends. They were helping people I knew. Everyone was telling me, hey, go see this guy, go see this woman. And they were just blunt, like they just didn't know what to do with me. Their ego was involved. So they were always kind of projected onto me. Right. Luckily, there was one lady who said, I can't help you. You need a teacher. So you remember the part about Utah, no religion, no spirituality. Yep. I was like, I thought, what are you talking about? You're my teacher. Like, what are you? Right. She's like, no, not a coach. You need like a spiritual teacher. And that's like the first time I heard that. Well, we're in Utah. I have no clue. I'm not going to go do Mormon stuff. I'm not going to go do Catholic stuff. I didn't know what to do. I was in the sauna. An 85-year-old man, ass naked, came up to me, standing. I was sitting.
Oh,
You can
geez.
understand where my eye level was.
Oh,
His
no.
name was actually Dick Birch.
Oh, no.
And he said, "I feel like I've known you from a past life."
Huh.
That broke open the dam. I had never heard that phrase, but holy hell, did it sound cool. So I said, "Please, get your what out of my face. Secondly, what do you mean by a past life?" He was the typical Mormon guy. He had no one to talk to about this stuff. He couldn't even tell his wife, his kids. They all thought he was crazy. So as soon as he crossed my path, he was like a kid in a candy store. And I was too, because I loved it.
Yeah.
He taught me about things. He had me read books. He showed me meditation. He sent me to a meditation. But after all of that, being the business guy, I was always thinking there's always something more.
Right.
There's always something next. So I told him, I said, "This can't be it." He said, "Yeah, there's a guy that I can send you to, but I haven't sent anyone for about a decade
Huh.
because I don't want people wasting his time. He's a big deal."
Sure.
I was like, I've forced you to teach me. You were 6 months out. I came up the next day. Do you think I'm gonna waste this time?
Right.
You know me for a month. Do you think I'm gonna waste this time? He's like, "No, okay." I had a picture of Steve Jobs on my phone. I was a big Walter Isaacson's, Einstein, reading all the books. When my current teacher did an image of Steve Jobs. So I wasn't looking for Steve Jobs. I was looking for him.
Huh.
In that moment, I looked at that man and said, "Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do." So apparently in a past life, I understood the teaching process. I understood the teacher-student relationship because I had no frame of reference, but I saw this man and I'm like, "You tell me what to do, I'll do it."
Yeah.
So I just kept, and luckily he was in my backyard. He spent decades with a incredibly high level teacher. He became a incredibly high level enlightened teacher, 180 IQ, very, very well-rounded person. He understood everything there was on the path. He is what led to all of the books, all of the teachings, not to fill my head full of more knowledge, because you and I both know the mind's already full of 80,000 thoughts.
Yeah.
He showed me on my own volition that all religions, all political views, all ideas, all knowledge is coming from the same source. So for us to kill each other over an ideal, for us to be at odds with each other over political views, for us to believe one side is right and the other is wrong, made absolutely no sense to me.
Right.
It still doesn't, and it never will, because one side truly believes at some point in the future they're going to win and the other side's going to lose.
Right.
We've been doing that since the beginning of humanity. It's not going to happen that way. So he stripped everything away. So I became very unbiased, unconditioned, and neutral. Well, for many years, do you think neutrality does well in this world? No.
Yeah.
It was a very dark, depressive way, because I had this incredible background. No one would hire me.
Right.
Because it was an energy thing. They didn't know what to do with me. I would try certain things with certain businesses and it didn't click. And that, I mean, I'll shorten it up. That's where the chief consciousness officer came.
Yeah.
Because individuals like you are now allowing me to talk about it. And it's only been a couple months. A lot of these hosts are admitting I would have not had you on 3 to 6 months ago. This makes no sense. Now, with time on this planet speeding up, this is the next logical hire for every company in the world. And we'll get into more detail as to why.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's a crazy journey, like, to position your view. Like, so I, I'm a Christ follower. I believe in that, and that Jesus, came, died for us, and that's the way to heaven. And, like, to be able to, though, kind of remove yourself from all the conflicts and see it, like, from more of an external, like, what does this actually matter? Like, like,
Mhm.
is this, like, at the end of the day, like, why are we bickering over these things, as far as, like, different people groups and things? It's a crazy thing to be more aware, and I don't know, necessarily stoic about it, but, like, understanding, like, it's such a small piece of
Mhm.
our day to day and our lives and things, and so, yeah, so, like, you started to have, like, your position building and change in this, and now why is this chief consciousness officer so important? I know you kind of glanced into it. I'll dive into that a little bit more for businesses specifically.
Because of the conflict.
Yeah.
So for the last 20 years, we've had wellness programs. We've had yoga. Sure. We've had meditation. We've had mindfulness. We'd have yoga. We've had Tai Chi. Small, medium, and large businesses have brought wellness programs in.
Yep.
They brought in facilitators and practitioners.
Yeah.
Well, every time someone, such as yourself, a Christ follower, Catholic, most people in business, when a wellness program's in and someone says, we need you to meditate, they go to Buddhism.
Sure.
So they're immediately turned off by it. Almost some of them are offended by it, right?
Yeah.
So my question is not, is the wellness program working or not? The question is, how does the world look? How does business look? It has never been so divided.
Yeah.
Catholicism's right. Buddhism's right. Muslims are right. Jewish people, we're all headed up the same mountain. This is not a political argument. This is not a religious argument. This is not even a spiritual argument. This is an understanding that consciousness is everything physical and non-physical. Every argument is a heads or a tails. My question is, where did the coin come from? Because if we keep flipping heads or tails, one day it's going to be heads, one day it's going to be tails. One day Catholics are going to be right, one day atheists are going to be right. We've done this since the beginning. We are continuously dividing each other. It's not working. We all want the world to be better for our kids. We want to leave it better for them, but we keep creating division that we want to rid the world of. So let's come back one step deeper and understand and ask the question, is it working? It's not. Republicans and Democrats can coexist. Catholics and atheists can coexist. But the way we view it as our ideals and we dig our heels in and we believe we're going to win and the other side's going to lose, that type of understanding is not going to work. And it doesn't work in business either, because the executive says, we really appreciate what you've done for the company. We really value you. The bullshit meter of everyone on this planet is clearing up. The employee says, I heard what you said. I know that's not what you feel. When you know as a human, finally, you can't lie to yourself anymore. That causes a gap. When executives don't know what to do with employees and employees are at odds with executives, and it keeps getting worse because HR's got their hands tied, a CEO it doesn't have the clarity to understand it, and their leader or their manager is going to double down on how to chastise the employee or how to handle them, you're causing more chaos and conflict. The chief consciousness officer is neutral. The world's finally catching up to my neutrality, and I love it because I can walk into an organization and I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not on the side of the employee. I'm not on the side of the executive. What I can do is I can see the picture from the whole view of it, and I can help each side create less conflict and division by showing them where they're coming from. Because you can say your boss doesn't care that you're Republican and you're Democrat. A CEO can say to each their own. HR can say we're an open space. But when you've chosen a side, consciously or subconsciously, it's energetically known that when an employee is asked a question by their boss, they're already got a wall up.
Sure.
I don't know how to answer this. I don't know if I'm going to get fired. I don't know if they think I'm being unproductive or not. And the executive's not going to be authentic either. When you bring in a chief consciousness officer, it becomes a secret weapon. That secret weapon can help HR hire higher consciousness individuals. That chief consciousness officer can bring in clarity to the strategy of the CEO. They can be in the room with the marketing officer and show them creativity they've never seen before, because they have no authority over anyone in the business and they report to the CEO. Neutral. Has a business ever had that? Have they ever had someone they can go to who's not going to judge them and not going to pick a side?
Right.
When I ask a question from pure curiosity, I am not doing it to see if you're for me or against me. I'm legitimately, like the universe, asking, where did you come up with that view? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Ed and Susie. Ed, you don't like Susie being a Trump girl. Susie hates that you're a Biden man. Do you guys understand it's the same thing? Well, I'm not trying to change their views. I'm not trying to change religious or political views. I'm simply trying to plant a seed that both sides think the same thing of each other. And no one's ever brought that to their attention. I know that sounds childish. I know that sounds like, no, that's not the case. It is the case, because look at the world.
Yeah.
So when it comes to consciousness, consciousness has already been in business. It's in business right now.
Yeah.
It's the fish in water who don't know what water is. if we're not aware that you, me, and every one of your listeners is swimming in consciousness and we can tap into that vast resource, we have a blank check and we've cashed it for $100.
Yeah.
If I had a blank check, I'm cashing it for $1 billion.
Yeah.
If I had a blank check, I would truly, it would be infinite. I would tap into this.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got to have an individual come in who's neutral, who can bring clarity to every position, who can be a secret weapon, who can talk to customer service at the watering hole and not cause more division and conflict.
Yeah. So if someone is, maybe they're a solo entrepreneur, they're trying to build something on their own, where does this still come into play with them in their position? Because obviously they don't maybe have employees, maybe they got a contractor or a VA or something. Where does consciousness play in someone like that?
So consciousness is already with them. So if they're a one person company, one employee company, this conversation has already took them from here to here.
Yeah.
I've already done my job. You've already done your job by allowing them to hear this. Truly, that's how simple it is. Because when you can't unhear what you and I are talking about, you can't unlearn what's been said. Let me rephrase this. NASA did a study where they followed a few thousand kids. At the ages of 4 and 5, 98% were considered genius. By the time those kids were adults, it was below 2%.
Huh.
So whether you're a big company or a single entrepreneur, that type of information shows you that as a kid, we are tapped into consciousness. We're basically neutral. We absorb everything. And then we go to school and we do Republican.
We get
and
told.
I'm Catholic. Yeah. And then I'm this. And then my parents led me into. We square off our minds, and that's where all the division and conflict are, because I'm right and you're wrong. When you understand consciousness, that you are swimming in it, it starts to break this open and give you more awareness, more access to answers. If I'm a solo entrepreneur, I want to tap into consciousness every day because I am it. Knowledge is structured in consciousness. When they hear that, it's like the 4-minute mile. It was absolutely impossible until someone did it. Well, now you know your consciousness. What you've been using, what the world's been using since the beginning of time, is the middleman mind. It's divided, it's conflicted, it's full, and it's overwhelmed. How does it look like it's doing? Because this mind of a 170 IQ Harvard grad is at odds with another 170 IQ Harvard grad because they are politically different and they hate each other.
Right.
That is pure ignorance to me, and that's how we live life.
Yeah.
So can we bring at least the awareness into both sides? Can we bring into that consciousness is everything, and allow the individual, no matter their level, customer service VP, no matter their intelligent level, no matter their level on religion or spiritual, you have access to this vast resource to be your own guide, your own teacher. And if I'm a solo entrepreneur, I would want access to the whole. You have it now.
Yeah. So what does that look like when someone kind of taps more into that? What changes?
Well, if you got this vast resource, if you're 50 feet behind a fence and all there is a pinhole in that fence and you're viewing it, you have a very limited scope.
Right.
That pinhole in the fence is not the whole. It's a very small part. When you're listening, truly just listening to this conversation, you are made aware that your consciousness and you have access to it. It moves you closer to the fence until you get right up. When you get right up to the fence, and if your eye's right on the fence, you look through and you can see the hole.
Right.
You're expanding your awareness just by the fact of listening to this conversation. Now, most people nowadays, because of what's been going on, are meditating, are becoming mindful, are doing breath work. Mm-hmm. So add in that breath work, meditation, mindfulness is not about the middleman mind. It's about tapping into the whole. We've just shifted perception again.
Yeah.
You go from here to here and then here. You're just expanding awareness.
So when you expand awareness, what are we hoping, when you expand awareness for people listening, like is the money just going to rush in? Is the relationships going to get better? What is that kind of externally? Is there any tactile, physical type changes that happen?
Yeah. So consciousness, this is something I always say, consciousness is not spiritual. It is actually tactical. So that's a great word you've used. Tactical in the sense that you will see things clearly, meaning you and I are on a screen right now. If I put grease on this camera, you would have to guess who I am, what I look like, and what I'm talking about.
Right.
Okay. That's the vast majority of the world. I don't care if you're Harvard educated at 160 IQ, there is grease on your windshield. When we expand awareness, you're removing the grease. If I'm a solo entrepreneur and I'm basically guessing what's on the other side of my business or how to get customers, I want to remove that grease so I don't have to guess anymore.
Right.
It doesn't mean money rushes in. It shows you the way to make money rush in. It doesn't mean the relationships come rushing in. It shows you if the relationship is actually good or not in a clear manner so you can make the right decision moving forward. Because you, me, Catholic, atheist, Buddhist, Muslim, Republican, Democrat, what do we want? We want clarity.
Yeah.
Well, we're guessing at best.
Yeah.
We're truly guessing at best. We got to remove so it comes into focus. That's all consciousness and expanding awareness is. Having these conversations, making people aware of what's actually happening and that they may have a little grease on their windshield, then they can remove the grease and then the world's theirs. And then it's their choice. There's no authority. There's no third party. We don't have to go, it's us. Jesus, all of these great teachers, what did they always say? We have it. We're it. We're just as powerful as the individuals we look up to. We have it in us. We just got to remove the grease.
So with that, with your talking about consciousness, and it almost to me sounds like we're able to not be emotionless, but take maybe an emotional response out of things. Like kind of reminds me a little bit of stoicism of like actually like taking a step and actually seeing like what is real. Is it actually like almost taking a step outside of what's happening and putting, seeing both sides, and then, okay, what actually makes sense? What's going forward? Like, is this negatively affecting me because I'm letting it, like, or is it actually like kind of that kind of setup? Is that kind of sort of tracking
Sure.
right?
Sure. So when we're discussing this, it sounds like stoicism is a big deal for you. So you're gonna have it in the framework of stoicism, right? If I was talking to a Buddhist, they would talk about it in the self, about the void, the clear, like, you get what I'm saying? This is just making us aware of our conditioning. What you said, right. What a Buddhist would say, 100%. What an atheist would say, because it's all coming from the same source. We just have a different filter because of our conditioning, how we grow up, and what we're attracted to. You're attracted to stoicism. Some are attracted to baptism. Some are attracted to Buddhism. It's all coming from the same source. So however your viewers are looking at this and questioning it in their own way of conditioning and bias, most likely they're right. And that's perfectly fine. And that's what we want. Because LinkedIn and books and how we look at these authority figures, they all have a way that you should follow to be successful. 10 ways for success. Those 10 ways worked for the individual who create them. I can promise you, most likely they're not going to work for you. Yeah. But we are continuously looking outside of ourselves, comparing ourselves. No. Here. So however you view consciousness, great. Yeah. However you view clarity, great. However you view my words in going from here to here, how you get there from here to here, I don't care. Consciousness doesn't care. It's neutral. I don't have a dog in the fight. You can do that through Stoicism. You can do that through Buddhism. You can do that through Catholicism. You can do it Republican, Democrat. My point is just bringing awareness to that, because the awakening process on this planet is not taking everyone to the top of the mountain. It's not dissolving your beliefs or your ideals or sides. It's taking a fourth grader to sixth grade. If I'm a business owner, I would rather hire sixth graders than fourth graders. They're a little bit more self-sustaining. They're a little bit smarter. They can communicate better. They're more emotionally stable. We're taking all 8 billion people and shifting them up. That subtlety is so powerful on a collective level for individuals, for the collective, for business, for religion, for spirituality, for schools, for education, for people, for your kids, all of it. Because everything is consciousness. It is fundamental to our experience. It's the fish in water who don't know fish. Now you know it's water. Simple.
I like this. So like, as we talked at the beginning, you were part of Pay It Forward and that organization. Do you see, are there certain things that connect with consciousness? Like, do you see people who are more conscious giving more or positively impacting the world more?
So we have a construct of thinking that we are here to help. That's a construct. It's a great construct.
Mm-hmm.
To think that more clarity brings people to be kinder,
Mm-hmm.
that's a construct. It usually leads to that. What we're doing with clarity on a very high understanding is you're being more authentic.
Okay.
That doesn't mean to be kind. That doesn't mean to give more. Some people don't have the ability to give.
Sure.
So to think that we need to give, like we have those things where people come out on these podcasts and say money doesn't buy happiness. Well, maybe in this incarnation, it does. That relationship that you think is going to fill the void and everyone tells you it's not going to, maybe it will. We have 8 billion different paths. And for someone to tell someone what they think they should do, it's coming from their fears and insecurities.
Sure.
What I'm bringing to the table, which is difficult to understand because it's so radically different, I'm just bringing the neutral understanding to what consciousness is to help you understand that you have the answer. If you legitimately think money's going to make your life better and that relationship with that woman's going to make life better, you need to go get it. If you think Jesus is the way, you have to follow that man.
Yep.
There's so many people creating out of the kindness of their heart. They're creating so much division and conflict saying, Jesus saved me. He'll save you. You need to go do. No, maybe he won't. Buddha is the best thing in the world. Maybe he's not for that individual. I don't have a dog in the fight. Consciousness is the most neutral thing. We're all a part of it. Let's just be aware of our bias and our conditioning, because that bias and conditioning is creating the conflict in the world that we all want to rid of. We want to make the world better. We just have to be aware. To your original question,
Mm-hmm.
when we're more aware, we do better. That usually relates to more compassion, more empathy, and in a way that is more giving, because you're letting people be who they want to be without being at conflict with them, right? So yes.
Yeah, and that's something kind of like on my journey has been like you said, I follow Christ, and for me, being more aware of others and like understanding, like for the simple saying, like people, driving slow in the left lane of traffic, and it's like get over it. But it's like, okay, maybe they're distracted, maybe they got something in like something super hard in their life going on. They're just kind of focused on it and not thinking about the lane they're in or things like that, and like trying to give grace and see other perspectives, and it's, I mean, it's a always growing thing to continue to kind of put yourself in see the bigger picture and not just about yourself. I think at the end of the day, like less selfish thoughts and more of like the whole situation can be beneficial for everyone.
Everybody. Yes.
Because like there's been incidences in my life where I've had someone do something to me and I was like completely against it, instead of like it made me frustrated, but instead of like just yelling and belittling that person, I kind of tried to see from their perspective like why they might have done that. And so I was able to have a more calm conversation of like, hey, I don't agree with anything you just did. I don't appreciate anything you just did. And that's not going to happen again. But I love you as a person, and I understand you might be going through things, and I'm here to help if I can. But almost having those boundaries, but still with grace a little bit, to try to be outside of like the emotional piece of it and see people as we are. We're all people. We all have issues. We all have problems we've been through. We've all have our constructs, things like that, and just trying to live a little bit better in harmony.
Yeah, and to that, there was a great teacher that once said, he had a very high level teacher. His name was Ram Dass. And he said, after 20 years with my teacher, 20 years of meditation, 20 years of every therapy, every modality you could possibly think of to fix myself, he said, not a single one of my neuroses went away. So when we're on this path, religious, spiritual, whatever, and we thinking we need to fix it, it's not really about fixing it. It's about becoming aware of it and being less attached to it. Yep. Like you said, the person someone that cuts you off, when you're unaware, you honk your horn, flip them off, drive up next to them, and make sure that they know that you ruined your day. When you're a little bit more aware, they may cut you off. You may flip them off and leave it at that. When you become more aware, when you get cut off, your mind goes to, my God, maybe someone in their car needs to get to the hospital and they're in a hurry.
Right.
And then you get to the point where they cut you off and it's like, it's not even like part of your awareness.
Yeah.
So that metaphor, that story, is congruent with every single aspect of our life.
Yeah.
When someone triggers you, when someone's upset at you, when someone's in business and you don't get along, you just start to view it through a more clear lens. You start to understand maybe you're being a hypocrite by getting mad at them for something they would get mad at you for. You just start to see things a little bit better. Kind of like when you're in second grade, you cannot live without that stuffed animal sleeping with you.
Right.
When you're 14, you're like, get that stuffed animal away from me.
Right.
I mean, these are very childish metaphors, but that's how it is for adults. That's how it is for us on this planet. Because look at the planet. We all have stuffed animals we can't live with. And then at some point, we let the stuffed animal go. And that's beautiful. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
That's perfect. We don't get mad at an 8-year-old for being in second grade.
Right.
And we don't think a 16-year-old in 10th grade is better than the 8-year-old. They're just at different stages.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep.
And again, that's coming from a neutral standpoint. That's where the power of this position comes in.
Yeah.
Because as people start to understand that these comments are not attacking one side and they're not for another, they're really starting to understand, like, man, maybe we could utilize this position. Maybe we could utilize this individual for neutrality. Maybe he could help me get my business from 1 to 5 million. Maybe this business is so divided and conflicted and HR can't handle it. Maybe this individual can help HR. Well, I can tell you right now, this position is going to be the secret weapon for all C-suite executives very soon.
That's awesome. Well, Charlie, this has been a great conversation, and I just kind of round out some episodes with some quick fire questions, just insights, little things we'd like to find out. So, a book that changed your view of reality or opened up your consciousness.
Man, I've read so many. Collision with the Infinite.
Okay. Nice. I've not heard of that one.
Susan Segal.
Okay. Nice. What do you do to keep yourself grounded?
I pick the wrong sort of ice cream for the 14-year-old and he gets mad at me. Truly, like on this path, just be around the people I've been around, to see the things that defy the laws of physics, to believe that when my head's in the clouds, I'm better. And then to be just pushed back down to being in this physical body, being human, and making mistakes that I don't think matter, but then having to deal with it.
Yeah.
It grounds me every day to make a mistake in the simplest form that someone cares about. And I have to be okay with that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Most misunderstood thing about you?
I haven't thought about this stuff forever. These are great questions. That I'm crazy? I don't know.
And if at the end of the day, your life's over here, everything you've built, the podcast you've been on, everything you've done will all be gone, minus one thing. One thing will stay around that people will remember and be able to connect with you by, or learn from you. What is that one thing you'd want to stick around?
Look into consciousness.
Yeah.
Truly. I know that's vague and very neutral. Just look into it. No matter who you are, no matter what your preconceived notions of it, that you think it's spiritual, it is literally the fundamental. It's fundamental to our reality, to our experience, no matter what you believe. As time on this planet evolves, and it's evolving quickly, it is going to be the center focus, like technology was 30 years ago, and companies started hiring CTOs. Mm-hmm. Consciousness is in every aspect of your life, whether you understand it or not. It's going to become very visible very, very soon. You're going to want to know what that is, because you're it. You are consciousness. Your knowledge is consciousness. Your thoughts are consciousness. You're just going to want a better understanding of it, and not from a fear-based, but from a legit, full potential, this is who I am, I've always wanted access to the answers type of way. It's yours.
Awesome. So yeah, now if people want to, like I said, it's been a great conversation. If people want to connect with you more, continue to learn, maybe get your help if they're listening, where's the best place for them to connect with you at?
I will give you my LinkedIn. I don't want to go to a website. I love going to LinkedIn because it's current discussions about what this position is, what it's not, what consciousness is, what it's not, from a very unspiritual way, from a very tactical way for day-to-day life of humans. So I'll give you my LinkedIn. link.
Perfect. Yeah. So everyone, make sure you go get connected with Charley on LinkedIn. Just continue to learn what he's putting out there. Yeah, just connect, engage with him. And again, Charley, thanks so much for being on the Elevate Media podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And for those listening, if you haven't yet, make sure you go follow the show, share this with another entrepreneur who's starting their journey. It just helps us help so many more people together. But until next time, continue to go out there, elevate your life, elevate your business, and we'll talk to you again soon.